All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. And motion carries. We have no comments from the public tonight and no recognitions. So with that, do you have any comments on the consent agenda before I ask for a motion?
Yes, I'd like to just make 2 items of note. One, like you mentioned, the e-learning plan to the Regional Office of Education is included in the approval of this consent in the list of consent items. And then the second, on the personnel report, I did want to make note that I have a recommendation for Mr. Nick Jacobs for full-time community relations coordinator. So I'm very excited to present this recommendation. And pending board approval, of course, present him to the board and the community at our August meeting.
Okay, with that, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
And roll call, please.
Mrs. Munson?
Aye.
Mrs. Tonelli?
Aye.
Mr. Blount?
Aye.
Mr. McGowan? Mrs. Conquest?
Aye, motion carries. We will move on to our action items. 4.01, approval of publication of the 25-26 budget in tentative form.
Yes, Mrs. Mary Robinson, our Chief School Business Official, will present to you the tentative budget that we are presenting and request that the board set the public hearing.
Good evening. Tonight we have the tentative budget. I presented last month a preliminary look at the budget. Not much has changed, so I'll go through, just ask me questions as I go. I just did want to give the board a recap of the 24-25 budget. There was just a few things kind of hanging out there, so just to close those up, all of the things that we were waiting on came through. So our final tax payment, our final categorical payment, we finished up payroll and benefits. So everything kind of closed out, and where we had estimated revenues and expenditures would both be within that 99 to 101, we finalized, and we were. So right on, pretty much on target. So again, just looking at our different local, state, and federal, I'll go through and we'll talk about these individually. Our revenue assumptions in next year's budget, we already know the 2024 tax levy. We know our EAV increase, so that's in there, and then we're estimating 6% for the 2025 levy. Not much else has changed. I will hopefully by next month have some better estimates of CPPRT. Again, moving on to state, I haven't gotten that yet from the state, hopefully by our next board meeting. So for current, our tentative budget, I am putting in $250,000 additional of EBF, but I will update that as soon. I checked today, it's not out yet, so I'll just keep checking. And then the thing I wanted to talk about is our federal. So you may have heard, typically on July 1st, some of the federal funds are dispersed, and they weren't this year. So I've left Title III and Title IV in the budget. You'll see those amounts are highlighted. If I hear that they aren't going to be dispersed, I'll take those out. But for right now, I'm leaving them in. I have not added Title II in because we never were given that allotment yet. So those are the things that could change. We could get a Title II allotment. You can see that last year it was around $98,000. If we get that, I'll add that back in. And then again, with 3 and 4, I'll play with the budget from there if we don't get those. So I will just keep checking, and I will let you know next month.
So these are the only amounts you would expect to be affected by all those funds that were already appropriated that they decided not to release?
Yes.
Okay.
There was a portion of Title I, but it's not a portion that we receive normally. So I don't think it will impact our Title I or the IDEA. So I've left those amounts as were allotted.
And since I'm kind of new to this, even though it's been a couple of years, but we haven't had this happen since I've been here, so I was curious, like, what happens if that 50 grand doesn't come in? I mean, it's 50, it's not millions.
Yes, yeah, right. So, I mean, really, we'll look first at the expenses. Some of the things are, we will basically try to probably absorb them into the budget elsewhere. This late in the game, it's not real easy to just say, oh, we just won't purchase those things because they've probably more than likely been planned for. So we'll just look to absorb them with other resources, and then we'll have to just look for years. If we expect that this is going to happen in future years, then we'll just plan accordingly.
Yeah, and of course, we're like cautiously optimistic about other federal sources as well, including IDEA, Medicaid, and then the Title I, of course. So, some districts are heavily dependent on those. We are, as it relates to IDEA, the individuals with disabilities. But Title I, it's a significant portion that, as it relates to staffing and support, we would have to look very, very closely at our local sources. So we're monitoring very closely.
On the expenditure side, not much has changed since our last meeting. One thing that we did get a preliminary estimate from the Grundy County Special Education Cooperative, so I have updated that slightly. We will have a more finalized meeting with the co-op as students come in and out up until, we still have several students not even enrolled yet. That will be not until finalized, probably until the budget when I'm bringing it for final approval. But I do have a preliminary estimate in there, and not really much else has changed. So when we look at the big picture, you can see from last month, it's pretty much the same. We still are looking at an operating surplus and then even a larger overall surplus. The larger surplus beyond the operating mostly comes from the life safety fund. So with life safety funds, we collect taxes each year, but we only do a life safety survey every 10 years. So we're basically building our funds so that when these major projects do come, we will have the funds available. And our district is due for a survey in 2026. So a lot of what you'll hear about tonight from our architects, some of that will be life safety work. So we're building that fund. So even though I don't have projects planned for this current budget year, those funds will start to get used maybe as soon as even next summer. And then this is just a summary. We have that operating surplus of $285,000. Again, there's a lot of factors that might change. We're looking at the EBF, that federal funding, but we appear to be in good shape for the next year. And as is, we do meet fund balance of 25%. And then tonight, we're just asking the board to approve the tentative budget, to publish that the budget in tentative form, and to set the budget hearing for September 15th, which aligns with our September board meeting.
Any other questions for Mrs. Robinson?
Yeah, it just came to me. Okay, so we publish it, and then if people don't like it, they come tell you? What do we do?
So we're
Why
publishing,
are we doing that again?
we're publishing it, and then the hearing, so if someone wanted to come and speak, they come to the September 15th meeting at the beginning before the board approves it, and they can tell you how they feel about it. But
They say we should put money in different locations, or?
Sure.
Okay.
There will be a public comment portion of that hearing, which is separate from the regular Board of Education meeting, so anybody that wanted to could speak before that or at that point.
But that's not common.
I think we've had one or two in the past.
Yeah.
Not very common.
Yeah, and what Mary has presented is pretty typical and standard for what we know. We do recognize the significant investment that our community makes. We know that in Illinois, the state funding model puts the burden on that local tax base, so we're very well aware of that. And as the board knows, and the board has demonstrated over many years with that financial responsibility. So we don't take that investment by the community very lightly. So we know there's a lot of people who have many thoughts about taxes and the investment that goes to the schools and the public services. But as you can see, it's very necessary for the services we provide to our community. So we definitely have conversations with individuals regarding the budget, regarding taxes, regarding all of the different things that are going on with funding in the state, let alone in our local community. So that's just another formal opportunity for the public if they have formal public comment that they want to express to the board.
Okay, I thought so. I was just making
Yeah.
sure.
No,
And I think you do such a great job laying it out that it's very easy to see that we need every dollar where it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? All right, if not, I need a motion to approve the publication of the 2025-2026 budget in tentative form and to set the public hearing for September 15th, 2025 as presented.
I'll move to approve the budget and set the hearing date as presented.
I'll second.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Tonelli,
Aye.
Mr. McGowan,
Aye.
Mr. Blount,
Aye.
Mrs. Munson,
Aye.
Mrs. Conquest.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Robinson. We will move on for our discussion and information item, which is our facilities assessment update.
Yeah, just for background and a little context for the public who may be viewing this at home, the board previously charged us with appointing a new architect of record, which we did, Archon and Associates. And then our next step was to engage in a facilities assessment. So that's where we take a look at all of the facilities across the entire district to ensure that we're being good stewards of our taxpayer dollars and that we have a long-term plan and that we are able to address any immediate needs. So you heard Mrs. Robinson mention in her presentation a reference to health, life, safety. So for example, we may find through our assessment that there are some needs that we need to tend to in our buildings and our facilities on health, life, safety. So we have been engaging with our architects, and they've been putting in a lot of work and hours surveying our facilities, and they're here tonight to give us a brief update. I'd like to welcome our architects up to the podium, unless, Mary, you wanted to have any comment first? Okay, so they're going to come up and just kind of update us on the work that's been going on. They actually started over spring break getting in our buildings. So we have VP and Jeff with us tonight from Archon, and this is just an opportunity for the board to hear, which is before we get to that point where we actually have a formal facilities plan. This is the work in progress update. So, gentlemen, microphone's yours.
Thank you. So I'm VP with Archon. This is Brian. He's our roofing guru. So building envelope-wise, windows, everything. We call him father of roofs. So that's he's going to talk to you about that today. Yeah, today we're going to kind of come in and talk to you about the facility assessment, where we're at in the process, and what we've been doing since spring break. Real quick, who is Archon? Just want to let you know we are a staff of 43 people. We are dedicated to the K through 12 market. So we've been doing the, I've been Archon for 18 years. Brian's been there for over 23 years now, 24 years. And so that's kind of all we do is K through 12. So we've been doing it day in, so that's our bread and butter. So majority of our work is the K through 12 market. Kind of showing you, this is our list of our client experiences, just letting you know that we don't shy away from it, that educational market is what we do. When we came in, the idea was to establish a baseline for you. Like, what are we working with? So getting a clean slate, having our team walk through your facilities and just kind of seeing it through our lens. Part of this process is just collecting data, right? So the first data is kind of what we see, what Brian sees, what our staff, I believe we probably have about a third of our team has of our company has walked through your buildings. So we've had multiple people do field surveys. We've had drone footage of all your roofs and your playgrounds and your sites. We visited multiple times. We're going to actually have people come back and do a 360 camera again tomorrow, just kind of finishing up. So what we do is we kind of collect the data, we go back, look at the data, make sure it's clean, that we can understand it, and if we regroup, we go back and continue just making sure that we collect the data. Part of this data collecting is also speaking to your staff and your team, right? So talking with Mary, talking with Rachel. We've already had meetings with your principals and seeing, like, let's talk about your buildings. Like, you guys live in these buildings. Tell us about it, right? Same thing. We've met with Glenn. He's talked about the mechanical system. That's kind of his focus. So we kind of, get that information, and then we have a meeting following up with Jason to kind of understand like the interior side of it. So a lot of meetings, and the whole goal is to kind of create this document that kind of tells you, site-related items, building envelope, architectural, everything that you can kind of make a decision for the next 10 years of how we can either improve the environment, improve your schools. So as I said, we're really just in the data phase. We have a lot, this is your school district, and traveling to them and understanding that, Aux Sable, Jones, and Walnut Trail seem to be the same floor plan that you have. So it's kind of nice to go through it. Sometimes we got lost because we thought we're in the different school or same school. So it's fun to really get to know your schools, right? Inside and out. So what we're going to do is we're just going to give you an example of, we're going to jump into one school and just give you kind of a big picture of what you're going to get at the end of this project, right? So one of the deliverables you're going to get a site plan showing you, here is your existing school, here's the parking, playgrounds, 10 years ago, we looked at a plan and it showed there was baseball fields and stuff. Based on our drone footage, there's no more baseball fields at Jones Elementary that we could see. So we want to make sure that we update your plan so you guys have an updated, site. So getting you updated drawings is part of our plan as well. Here's a draft of kind of the first floor of what you'll see. We've got an overall plan, and kind of right now, this is just, you want to verify the room numbers are correct, room names are correct. So you'll have kind of a basis of here are the rooms you're working with. Part of this, right now it's small font, but I'm going to zoom in real quick, is if you look in here, you're going to get data of your assets in your school, right? So not only are we providing you an assessment, we're also letting you know what is currently in each of your classrooms. So as you can see, for one of your classrooms, it's telling you, what kind of flooring do you have, right? So is it VCT flooring, so that you can start looking in, hey, if we replace the flooring in the future, I want to replace all VCT to LVT or to rubber or something. So we've already done that work for you. Same thing with ceiling tile. Is it a 2x2 ceiling tile? Is it 2x4? Is it a spline ceiling? Is it exposed? So getting that data and assets for you, right? So if it's exposed ceiling, maybe in the future is to repaint the ceiling when you need to, replacing the ceilings when you need to, right? If the district standard is we want to have all classrooms to be 2x2 ceiling tile, then we've already analyzed which classrooms are 2x4 that we can switch to 2x2, right? We kind of noted what your wall construction is if it's drywall, if it's CMU, because that's usually drywall. It takes a little more beating, so it needs to get a little more patching, right? So that can kind of help you and analyze, okay, if your building's majority drywall, you might have to, maybe every year you're looking at patching the walls, okay? And then also we dive into your doors, right? Kind of your door hardware. The biggest thing that we look at is like a knob versus a lever. Does your door have levers versus a knob? Is it keyed on the inside, outside? Do you have a push button? So kind of that starts going into your security level, as in trying to see how consistently we can make your buildings, right? We also, one of the things we look at that's a life safety thing, also facility assessment, is wired glass. That's one of the things that we are, for a school building, you grandfathered in for wired glass, but we want to say, hey, this door has wired glass or Silite, and that's something that would be put in your kind of your plan for future replacing to be safety glass instead of the wired glass. So you'll get this for all the schools, all the classrooms. The toilet room will have ceramic tile on the floor or wall tile or porcelain tile on the wall. So you'll get that data, and that will be for you. And then we have more data behind this, the fire rating of walls and that stuff. But that stuff, it could be a lot of information. So we want to give you kind of the basis of information that you can start with. And then the next thing you're going to get a facility assessment now, as in we start diving into the details, as in things that we found, right? And so we'll have this plan as well, and we'll have photos that go with, hey, we found stained ceiling tile. It could be a roof leak, it could be a mechanical leak. Further investigation needed, right? That's something where we'll pop our heads up real quick and say, okay, it might be condensation that needs to be looked at. A lot of superficial stuff. The photo on the bottom left-hand corner is that we walked in the gymnasium. You can see a crack. Not crack, but you can see light coming through, which means that the weatherproofing on that door probably needs to be replaced soon, right? And so those are things that we're going to see: stained ceiling tiles, levers if things are missing, cracked walls. So we're going to identify those in this document and kind of give you photo backup so you can identify where we found those issues. Okay. So same thing, we walk through the second floor, and you'll get that with photo documentation backup for roofing, walls, architectural finishes, and stuff like that. So the stuff that we're showing you right now is mostly architectural and roofing. You'll still get another plan that includes all mechanical, plumbing, electrical, kind of showing you what's your current system, where your RTUs, where your VAVs. So it's going to be a very in-depth packet, so you kind of know what you are dealing with and what you guys have, right? And us identifying your assets.
So one of the big components that we have done on every school is we've walked the perimeter. So when VP refers to building envelope, it means roofing and masonry, or roofing and walls. So we've got a team of 3. I've been on every school. Well, all of us have actually been in every school, all 3 of us. But we usually have 2 people on the roof, and we're walking every roof except shingle roofs. At the same time, an individual is walking the whole perimeter of the building, identifying any issues or problems or things that need to be addressed in the future. We just completed this school and elementary last week, walking the roofs. It was nice cool out that day, only about 110 degrees on the roof. But we look at the roofs from a couple of different perspectives. We look at typical life cycle of the type of roof system that you have. We would look at the condition of that roof, because just because it has a typical life cycle, say of 25 years, it doesn't mean they all last 25 years. Some might last longer, some might last, less. And then we identify any issues or problems that we see that are real time when we're up on the roof. And I was telling Mary, I would text Glenn if I saw something that needed immediate attention, because to get up on the roof takes time, and not everybody's doing it every week, and there might be something up there that's hidden that somebody doesn't know about. So we were making him aware of certain things that we found up on the roof. And then we also look at it when we start to plan these things out. We look at it from a perspective of you can maybe you can see that we number every roof area. So for instance, say roof area 1, I'll give an example, roof area 1 and 2 would need to be replaced. We might look at what the condition of roof area 3 is at the same time. If it warrants it, to combine things so that there's a value to when the project's being done to get more things in an area combined. So we kind of put all those pieces together, and I think you probably have a spreadsheet. So this is going to be one of the components that will be part of the deliverable. Will be on every piece of the puzzle: architectural, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, roofing, walls. Everyone will have identified the system type and what we project out the year that it would need to be addressed. So when you take all your schools combined, it's a great tool. Sometimes it can be a little daunting, but it's a great tool to start working at pieces and planning things out for the future, which is obviously the reason why we're doing this.
So yeah, this is, I had to double check my eyes because I felt like I can't read this anymore. Okay, so with this, Excel, it's gonna be an Excel file that you have that's gonna be kind of a living document we can put in Google Docs or whatnot. And what it's gonna have is, right now you're seeing is the roofing side, but on top of that you'll see site items, you'll see architectural items, you'll see mechanical items, electrical items. And if you go to the right side, I know it's hard to see, but those are the years, right? And so you'll see the first year is gonna be 2026. So if we would recommend replacement in 2026 or 27. And so how the cells work is that the cost that we put in is the cost from today. And then everything will have a 4% inflation, so that if you were to replace it 10 years from now, it'll take that 4% compounded every year for 10 years. So it kind of gives you kind of a plan for you to say, okay, look, roofing, this is 2009. Lifespan is probably 25 to 30 years. So we would be putting that in a cell. Do a curve of the 5, yeah, over there. We'll put it later in the years, right, for you guys to see.
We kind of for roofing specifically, and I don't want to dive too deep, but we prioritize. I would say priority 1 would be it needs to be done within a year. Priority 2 would be 2 to 5 years. So there's a range. Priority 3 would be like 6 to 10 years, and then 4 would be 10 years out and might not show up on the plan, right? Because you could take some of your newer buildings and roofs that aren't that old and still have a lot of life cycle. So when you look at that, then we can start, as VP said, it's a living document, so you can start to fine tune it, and prioritize things differently. And obviously we work with the staff, and they know the everyday issues that they're dealing with, whether it's leaks or just things that need to be repaired over time.
So the next step for us is taking what you see here and getting the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and then doing it for all of the rest of your schools. So you'll have this draft facility assessment for all your schools. With that, we're thinking about a month and a half to get all this documentation together. We'll still have a draft floor plan, but then we will review this with your team. We're gonna take our first stab at what year we would recommend, right? Once again, so 1 to 3, whatever. So if you want to put in the 3rd year, so that you can move that around yourself. As I said, you get this document at the end, so if you want to move it later, that's up, how you want to plan it and how it aligns with your kind of strategic planning. It's there for you to kind of move that along. So we've got about a month and a half of that, sitting down and going over, once again, kind of what we found. And then from there, a couple months after that is just really finalizing the document and having everything set for you that you could take this packet and then start planning for the future. So it's just, it's a lot of work. A lot of documentation was, we had to recreate floor plans. We had to recreate roof plans. So a lot of this stuff is not only data gathering, but also us redrawing a lot of the documentation for you guys. So, so thank you for your patience on that stuff, just, redrawing stuff. I mean, we had one of the interns scan the drawings, and they said, man, these drawings are like 1,000,000 years old. I said, it's like 1970. I don't know, like their perspective of old is, I'm like, these are vintage. These are vintage. They're not old. So, so we've got a lot of documentation. Soon, we want to include in this paperwork, include all your environmental reports so that you kind of have it all in one place. Your ASHRAE, you're required to have, 3-year inspections every year, so include that documentation. Really speaking to your staff and your team, Glenn and Jason, is kind of really key because you guys, as I said, live and breathe this every day, and we're taking all that stuff from their brains and putting this document so that now it's not just, 2 years from now, I'm going to replace that RTU. It's now in a document for you. So that's kind of our next step. So month and a half, we'll meet up again and go review all the stuff with your team, and then final documentation about a couple months after that. So, any questions?
Thank you for this. I'm looking forward to seeing what you deliver to us when this process is done. I know something the board has been wanting, and I know Mrs. Robinson has been working towards having a long-term plan for our district, and this is certainly a very, very important step in having that both on the facility side and the financial side. So appreciate all the work that you're doing for us. Any questions for them?
No roofing questions.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Appreciate your time. Anything else on that?
Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate you coming out. I know that was a quick snapshot of a lot of tedious work and data collection. And then the aggregate of that, like President Conquest said, we'll use in the financial planning, facilities planning conversation. So our Finance and Operations Committee will spend a lot more time on that, and then we'll have board conversations regarding those priority ones and how does that line up with the financial plan. So we're looking at a long-term plan and also addressing immediate needs. So it is part of this bigger picture for us to talk about needs and then eventually maybe sometime in the future wants. So this is a great first step, and we appreciate all the time that your team's putting in. Thank you, and thank you to Mrs. Robinson for supporting, and to Mr. Wysong as well.
Do we have any board updates tonight? My only board update will be our new committee assignments. Those will be posted on the board website after the meeting. We have Education Committee will be Mr. Schoenberg and Mrs. Tonelli. Our Policy Committee, Mrs. Monson and Mr. McGowan. And our Finance Committee will be Mr. Cronin and Mr. Blount. Please, just a reminder to board members, if you ever can't make your meeting, please let me know. I don't have an assignment so that I can float between them. If there's a time that you can't make the meeting, you get sick kid, whatever you got going on, please just reach out to me so I can make sure that we're represented. Any other board updates? All right. If not, we'll move on to administrative reports.
I know we have a few notes from our administrative team. Dr. Massey, Mr. Souza, did you want to battle it out to run up here? Who wants to come up first? I think that's you, Dr. Massey. Dr. Massey is going to give us just a quick enrollment and staffing update. We typically do that at this time of the year to let you know how things are standing. We're in pretty good shape. We're keeping an eye on some interesting enrollment trends. So, Dr. Massey.
Absolutely. I should start by saying, before I get to the information in our PowerPoint here, our presentation, we have a Spanish teacher. So you guys, thank you. A few moments ago, you you approved for hire a young lady who comes to us with a wealth of experience in servicing students of multilingual language, and Miss Martinez knows her. And she came highly recommended as well. So we were really excited. I know last month we presented to you guys we were kind of sweating it a little bit, but patience and perseverance, you know, tell the kids that worked out this time. So, but I wanted to let you know, we have all of our teaching positions currently, knock on fake wood, filled. We have some of our support staff positions still open. For example, today we had somebody transfer from a program assistant position into a health aide position. So we're just playing whack-a-mole a little bit with some of our support personnel. But yeah, things are looking really great. So super excited to share with you, we got a Spanish teacher, so. With that, I know last summer, I was thinking, we were downstairs in the gym for most of last summer, if I'm not mistaken. So I recall standing there and giving you guys this very presentation, but dates have changed, but similar approach. So what we're looking at here is just to give you an idea of what our enrollment looks like currently. And I was able, Dr. Mon used to create these presentations, and then when I took over, I had a weekly check-in, so I was able to give us almost a week-to-week comparison from what I did last year versus what we're presenting to you this year. So I broke it down by schools. We're looking at Aux Sable, obviously, in the big bold print there. And if you look at last year, on the 11th of July, our enrollment is not terribly different in comparison to where we're at currently. I should have started this by saying, parents, if you have not yet enrolled your children, please do so. It will be super helpful in allowing us to properly staff our buildings and make sure that we're ready for the kiddos when they come in August. But all in all comparison, things are looking pretty close when it comes to enrollment at this point in time at Aux Sable. And then this would give you that cohort look. I know we talked about this last year. The colors go down diagonally, right? So that's the group of kids. So if you look at the yellow, those started out as kindergartners in 2023, and they're going to be second graders for us this year. So that little diagonal there. The difference, the column that says DIF, that's just kindergarten last year compared to kindergarten this year. So you can see we're down right now 10 students in comparison to last year's kindergarten at Aux Sable to where we're at currently at Aux Sable. And then that number at the bottom there, that -27, that's an overall enrollment difference from last year to this year at Aux Sable. That cohort difference takes into account that diagonal color and lets you know that that group of kindergartners that was purple last year and are going to be first graders this year, they've actually increased over the course of time by 10 students. The first graders to second graders, we lost 4 students to different districts on enrollment. And then if you look at second grade to third grade, we gained 5 students. Third grade to fourth grade, we gained 2 students. So our cohort difference is still increasing. Part of the enrollment shift, that -27, remember we had really big classes there for a hot minute? So the third and fourth grade in the 2024, those were our big classes at Aux Sable. We graduated one of those classes out, which makes sense that the class that came in behind them wasn't as big. So we have an enrollment decrease overall at Aux Sable, potentially. But our cohorts continue to grow. They're just not growing at the rate that the upperclassmen were growing when they were at Aux Sable. So again, all in all, things are looking pretty solid at Aux Sable and looking very much trending like we did last year. And then we do the same for Jones. Again, pretty similar numbers for Jones Elementary. You're looking at overall enrollment last year at this time of 518. 506 is where we currently stand, so again, pretty close. And if we look at those cohorts, you're looking at an overall difference of 12 students in the building, but the cohorts again grew by 32 students. So kindergarten at Jones looks about on par for where we were last year. Again, we'd still like you to enroll if you haven't done so. That's super helpful, but we're looking like we're on par where we were last year with our kindergarten enrollment. And then we look at MES. I'm gonna be honest, this was the one, we were scratching our head pretty hard about this one. If you look at that kindergarten enrollment, we were at 92 last year at this time, which was pretty solid. We were okay with that. We're at 63 right now. That's just a huge difference. So we're trying to put our heads together and figure out what's going on there. But overall, we've got a 44 student differential at MES. And again, with that pretty significant change from kindergarten last year to this year, that accounts for the majority of that.
Isn't this our school that tends to get a huge last minute rush?
Yes, ma'am.
Last minute
And I was telling Ms. Kinder that, and then when we looked at this data, I was like, oh, well, we're a lot later this year than we were last year. So that's one that, like, if you were to ask me which one am I most concerned about or keeping an eye on most, it's the kindergarten at MES, because that number is so significant. That's a class and a half. So, but yeah, we're keeping an eye on that. I know Mr. Souza puts out his blasts of, hey, get your enrollment going if you haven't done so, and we've been doing a push for that as well. And we do see an influx when that happens. There's a little surge, and then we put out another reminder and a little surge. So we're going to continue to do those things.
Are those targeted messages like,
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Conquest, you haven't registered your kid?
Yes, ma'am. If Dr. Staub was here, she would say that she gets those and then has to. So MES, again, kindergarten is kind of our point of concern. The cohort groups for these, for Minooka Elementary School, fallen right in alignment with everything else we're seeing as well. The cohorts are growing slightly. Overall enrollment is decreasing in that building. Again, we had that 3rd and 4th grade bubble that were pretty big there for a hot minute, and those kids have moved on to the upper grades. So then we look at Walnut Trails. They are pretty close. I mean, we're 3 kids plus from where they were last year at this point in time. And then if we look at their cohort group, again, their difference is they have a positive difference, which most of the other schools have a negative difference, but their cohort group is right in alignment with where some of the other schools are looking as well. And then we switch to MIS in the junior high. And I don't give you class averages here because that gets a little complicated because it's not a standard look, but I can tell you that based on the teaming that they have, the principals are super comfortable with the staffing allocation that we have and feel like they're really going to be able to meet the needs of the students. But if I look at the difference here, we're looking at a plus 35 at MIS, and their combination 5th and 6th graders added together there. We got a bigger 5th grade class coming in than what we had last year as a 5th grade class. So that accounts for the 35, because we have 55 more 5th grade students coming in this year than we did last year. And again, their cohorts are growing. At the junior high, we've got a little bit of a dip. We've got a negative 19 students there. But again, we sent out a pretty big class of 519, and they're inheriting a 494. So that accounts for that negative 19. But overall, again, the cohorts are growing at the campus, both junior high and MIS. MPC, always a wild card. You know, that's based on their age, and it's open enrollment constantly, but they're about the same place they were last year. And again, Dr. Luer, thank you, it feels that her staffing downstairs is going to meet the needs of these kiddos as well. They're always looking to add as many kids as they can, but you know, as soon as those students reach a certain age, they age out and we get a new push of kids coming in, so it's just complete open enrollment all year long. But their numbers are pretty similar to what they were last year. And then this is everybody smushed together. So you can see, again, our overall difference from last year to this year at this point. I've got both just K-8 listed down below, 4,009 students last year, 3,945 this year, so we've got a difference of negative 64. You add in the pre-K, because they are our wild card, then you get the 4208, the 4155, with a negative 53. But I go back to MES as kindergarten, that accounts for 30 of those negative 53. Overall, again, though, I point out the cohort difference. We have grown the students that we have. We've grown them by 141. So we're getting bigger. We just shipped off some of those. I'm like a broken record. We shipped off some of those bigger classes, and we are just not as big on the kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade end as we were on the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade end here a few years ago. So moral of the story is we keep an eye on this. We send out messages. We try to elicit more enrollment from folks that are here. We've got signs that we have out placed in principals are going to be coming back. We send out messages. Secretaries are making calls. We do a full court press to try to get folks to register their students. And we will come to you guys again with updated data at our next meeting so that you can see kind of where we're at. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that parents are sitting or having their kids homeschooled more in private schools?
So we've talked about this for years now. COVID kind of changed things, right? What we were seeing there for a while, a trend, was that folks were keeping their kiddos home when they were maybe pre-K, kindergarten first, and then entering them back into school in those like 3, 4, 5. we conjectured is that when sports and activities start, and they can get involved in things in the school as opposed to, homeschooling. I know they have groups that they can get together and do sports as well, but the more organized sports that the school offers. We saw some of that. I honestly, yes, some of them are homeschooling their kids. Some of them are sending them to private schools. We see these big developments coming up in Jones, and we're excited to see the impact of that. But there for a while, our community didn't have a ton of growth either. So you wonder about the transiency of the folks that were coming and going. We were getting there for a portion of time, a large influx of our ML population. That has kind of stabilized. But those were the folks that we were talking about moving into the community that were really impacting our overall enrollment for a brief period of time. So I think there are too many variables to truly say it's this or it's this. I think it was just a convergence of things, and we're still trying to figure things out in the whole scheme of everything. I think things have shifted so tremendously in a lot of arenas, and to be able to say there for a while, that was absolutely what was happening, right? But now I think it's just a combination of things that we're still playing whack-a-mole a little bit with. But bottom line, we're excited, whoever comes here. We get to spend time with their kids and give them the best educational experience we can give them. But I think our great concern or challenge is to see the impact that some of the recent developments up by Jones will have on our staffing, because as you can see, Jones is still looking pretty good as far as their enrollment's concerned. It's not one of our lower buildings. So
Thank you.
Challenges to come. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll just kind of
Yes, ma'am.
punctuate that point with the enrollment. It's obviously something we're keeping an eye on, and we do know of residential development basically in every community that we serve. So in Shorewood, that's probably the one that's moving right now, in addition to the near Jones. And then there's some that are a little bit further on the horizon in Minooka and Shanahan that we serve. So it's going to be what I hope is what you see here is this kind of stabilizing, some of these more getting us into a comfort zone, and then we'll have more of a gradual kind of fill in, as opposed to some of those great spikes that the district experienced when there was such a rapid housing growth. But of course, that's all dependent on the housing market and how quickly these homes sell in the new residential development. But at this point, I would say we're sitting pretty comfortable unless there's just this market surge. But I think it's going to be a little bit more paced than we've experienced in the past 15 years. So that is the hope. But of course, we monitor it very closely. And then the other elements that we monitor very closely are our special programs, our multilingual learners, our special education programs for students requiring specialized services, which often, requires additional staff or space. And so while the overall enrollment may be steady or trending a tick down, there's still a great demand for staffing, resources, and support. So it's all this kind of delicate balance and even keeping an eye on some of the trends like you pointed out. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea where we're at with, and you may not know this because I just thought of the question, but students that we expected to come back that haven't registered yet?
We are at 309 as of today, so families who
Okay.
have not yet registered. So they are targeted messages and phone calls, emails, texts. I think they're they're probably going to tire of getting those pretty soon, but we hope that they do register. And we'll tend to get a lot of those in these last few weeks. We are literally 3 weeks out from having teachers back, and so students will be shortly behind that. So we're in that final push, and I don't know, I think it's about typical for this time of year, because I asked that as well, and so we're like, okay, what more proactive things can we do? But, life is busy, so we know the parents are going to get on it in these last couple weeks here.
And I do know, Ms. Conquest, to that point, our secretaries will start making phone calls to the families that we know were our families last year. Hey, what can we do to help you? And welcoming them in to do that. So that push is really at the building level once the August hits, really. So
We've also talked about bringing back in the future some type of proactive kindergarten outreach for incoming kindergartners. I know at one point in the past there was a kindergarten roundup of sorts. So making that personal connection and getting families set early on, that's something that we're going to look to institute this year and implement some additional strategies in that area. Yes, MPC still does have additional screening dates, and that, like Dr. Massey pointed out, is ongoing enrollment, and honestly, we ended up with a wait list last year. So there's a greater demand than we have seats for, but that we do see that continue to roll. It's just this ongoing enrollment, and that's just the nature of early childhood because it's based on the child's birthday. So we will continue to spread the word for the Grundy Co-op screenings and make sure that every seat possible is full.
When we do those kindergarten reach outs, if we do those roundups early enough, I assume they qualify for the reduction in fee if they register on by a certain date for the kindergarten. So that may be something that kindergarten families don't realize. Maybe it's already past that point. Might be
Absolutely.
a selling point for some earlier kindergarten registration.
Absolutely. Any fee reduction would be welcomed by any family, so that would be a great point to communicate. All right. Any additional updates from tech world, teaching and learning world? Come on up. Mr. Souza, Director of Technology.
All right. Thank you for tonight. So we ordered Chromebooks back in April, and they're finally arriving now. Long story. First grade's actually done. We could open school tomorrow with first grade. Second grade, a couple of schools are getting theirs tomorrow, and the big fifth grade order is still, we're hoping for next week. So the tech team is going to be just attacking that, unboxing, inventorying, labeling, getting everything ready. So been kind of sweating that a little bit, but it looks like we're going to just push through hard at the last couple weeks right before school. We have a lot of other kind of projects as well, cafeteria projector installs and other things that are going to be the last week of July, first week of August. Just how back order, scheduling, a lot of just nuancy things that, so the last 3 weeks of school are going to be like a hurricane for the tech department, more so than even usual. We try to plan and stay ahead of everything, but just didn't work out that way. But bottom line, we should, by all accounts, just be ready for school as normal, and just looking forward to launching the school year. We've got new people on the team, so we're going to have first days of school for 30% of the tech team as well. So it's we've had a lot of kind of moves and add-ins and bring-ins. So we're excited to get through the first couple weeks of school. Hopefully providing successful operations and support as we always aim to do. And but from there, I can take a little bit of a sigh of relief that things are arriving finally. And with that, I'll open up any questions.
I'm really enjoying Parent Square as a parent.
Good.
So
yeah,
congrats on
we're
that.
excited to launch that a little bit more formally with the teacher training on the big full day back with teachers who are back to get them kind of trained. I truly believe that's going to be a big win for us over once we get to September, October kind of thing.
It's really nice to be able to go in and see, scroll back to everything, and everything's in one space versus looking in your inbox and
without
searching.
rolling through 35 emails and. So yeah, we're excited about that. I think that's going to be a big win for us. Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to. Okay. Yeah, we'll help you out with that. But okay. Any other questions for me? Thank you very much.
Any other updates from administration? Okay, on that topic of Parent Square, we will be formally communicating and encouraging our parents to download the app. We have about 15% of our parents who have already jumped on board with that, and it is a very cool tool. So I hope that helps to streamline communication, and we're getting everybody up and running with that. We'll be communicating regarding that. I will be sending out just a kind of 3 weeks to the start of the year short message with updates to our parents, letting them know that transportation planning is being finalized. We're in the final logistical steps in our partnership with 111 and providing services. I know that was been a long project that we've undertook, so I thank the board for this, your support, as well as the Board of Education of Minooka 111, our high school district. And our teams have been putting in a lot of hours in addition to our administration team, our transportation team, team, office staff as well. So they're fine-tuning the routing. Parents can expect that around the first week of August, so that will be available in Power School. We also have drivers have already done their route selection, so that's a great milestone that we've achieved, and we thank our drivers and aides for their patience as we worked through the whole big process of combining our operations and having Minooka 111 as providing Minooka transportation. So moving on to that, I mentioned that Teacher Institute Day is Monday, August 11th. We're excited to welcome our teachers back, and I may cringe to say for some, because the summer days are ticking down, it certainly has raced by. 3 weeks from today, teachers will be back, and then students' first day back is Wednesday, August 13th. So we'll be getting a lot of reminders out in the next few weeks regarding those very important first days, the Find Your Way days, August 6th, the open houses that will happen on August 11th, to give everyone that opportunity to get their foot back in the door and get settled. And then we'll also have our primary center, parent orientation, and then we will be ready to roll for the new school year. So there's been a lot of great work happening in the district behind the scenes with maintenance, custodial, operations, technology, all of our district team. It's just been a flurry of work, and that you don't really see that, but I can guarantee you we will be ready to go and are looking forward to a great new school year.
Any additional questions or comments for Superintendent Kinder? All right, we have no need for executive session tonight, so with that, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries.